I never thought I'd be sharing this story. Honestly, I wasn't even sure I would survive it. But here I am, writing these words, because I believe the Lord has made it clear. This is not just for me. What happened on that cold October night changed everything I thought I knew about the world, about God's plan, and about the times we're living in. My name is Harper Wilson. I'm a grandmother, a mother, and a believer. I've spent months trying to process what I experienced, thinking, praying, and asking God whether I was truly called to share this story. And now, with everything I've witnessed, I know the answer. I must. But before I tell you everything, have you ever asked yourself what happens after death comes? Have you ever wondered about the things you can't see, feel, or understand about the world beyond? Have you ever thought that you might have an experience so incredible, so unbelievable, that you weren't prepared for it, no matter how much you believed? It all began like any other evening. I had just left Cedar Rapids after spending the afternoon with my daughter, Sarah, and her children, my precious grandchildren. The sun had set, and I was driving home alone in the stillness of an October night. The warmth of our family gathering was still with me. Emma showing off her lost tooth, James insistently pushing me on the swing, and Sarah's famous pot roast filling the house with its comforting aroma. But that night, the sky was unusually dark, heavy clouds obscuring any trace of moonlight. I had an hour's drive ahead of me, but I wasn't worried. At 63, I was still comfortable driving at night, using these quiet moments to pray and reflect. I remember thinking about how quickly my grandchildren were growing up, offering a prayer of thanks for every moment I've been able to share with them. And then it happened. One moment I was driving, thinking about life and family, and the next, everything changed. A deer. It appeared out of nowhere, right in front of my headlights. I swerved instinctively, but the road was slick, and the car spun out of control. The last thing I remember was the screeching of tires, and then a desperate whisper of a prayer. Jesus, help me. And then, everything changed. The pain was gone. The fear was gone. Everything vanished. All that remained was light, but not just any light. It was alive, as if that light understood and contained all the things I had never known. It didn't blind me, but it enveloped me in a strange, peaceful sensation. I felt as though I was no longer bound by my body. Who was I? And where was I? What world was this? And then I heard my name. Harper. The voice was gentle, but carried an authority that made me feel it in my very soul. I hadn't even turned around yet, but I knew who it was. It was him. So what happens next? What would lead me to stand in the presence of the absolute perfection of God? And would I understand what he wanted me to see and understand about this world, about what is to come? Had I prepared for this moment? This story will change me forever. Jesus smiled with such tenderness, his eyes radiating a love I couldn't fully comprehend. Your body is between life and death, he said softly. For these moments, you will return. You have a message to carry. But first, you must witness what is to come, so you can warn my people and prepare them for the final days. But what did he mean by the final days? What was to come, and why me? Before I could gather my thoughts, Jesus took my hand, and in an instant, we were moving through what I can only describe as dimensions of time and space. It was as if we were floating between worlds. And as we passed through, he began to show me visions. visions of the near future, each one unfolding with perfect clarity. The first vision was of our current world, but seen through a spiritual lens. And what I saw was nothing like I had imagined. Have we really become so blind? I saw how modern technology, the very tools we believed would bring us closer, had become idols for many believers. Devices, social media, and endless entertainment, though not inherently evil, had consumed so many. What happened to the signs all around us? Why had we stopped seeing them? Look carefully, Jesus said, motioning toward the crowd before me. Many of my children have fallen into a spiritual slumber. They attend church, say their prayers, but their hearts are divided. Could that be true of me too? How often do I get distracted, consumed with the world? They seek comfort in the world rather than in me, he continued. The enemy has crafted a perfect distraction, keeping them busy with good things, but missing the best thing, true intimacy with me. How much time had I spent on my phone, scrolling through endless feeds, and how little time had I given to prayer? How many of us are so connected to our devices, yet so disconnected from God's presence? Was it possible that we had traded true spiritual nourishment for quick, empty distractions? But Lord, I asked, what about all the Christian content online? Isn't that good? Some of it serves my purpose, he replied, but much of it has become like fast food for the soul, quick, convenient, but lacking true spiritual nourishment. Here, could it be that we were settling for the easy way? What if our souls were starving without us even realizing it? My people need to return to their first love, Jesus said, his voice full of longing. They need to seek me in the quiet places, to hunger for my word more than they hunger for likes and followers. Was I truly seeking him like that? Did we even know how to hunger for him anymore? Then the scene shifted. I saw what appeared to be the near future, a rising hostility toward genuine Christian faith, but it wasn't the kind of persecution we might expect. No, this was something more subtle, a pressure to compromise biblical truth for the sake of social acceptance. Could we really be this close? I saw churches dividing, some holding fast to biblical truth, while others bent to the culture's shifting values. Watch, Jesus said, his voice grave, as I saw believers torn between their faith and their need for acceptance. The division begins here. Could I stand firm when the pressure mounted? Would I be able to choose Christ over comfort, faith over favor? As the vision unfolded, I saw Christians being forced to make impossible choices between their faith and their jobs, their families, their social circles. This is just the beginning, Jesus explained. These divisions will force my true followers to decide whom they will serve. Many will fall away, choosing the approval of men over the approval of God. But those who stand firm will grow stronger in their faith. The weight of his words was like a heaviness in my chest. Would I be among those who stood firm? Could I withstand the temptation to conform? Then the vision continued, showing me a figure emerging on the world stage, a charismatic leader whose words were so compelling, so smooth, that even many Christians were drawn to him. He promised peace and unity. Could this be the man they would follow? What if his message sounded perfect, but was it truly of God? Jesus' voice cut through my thoughts. This leader will deceive many. His solutions will seem perfect, but they will lead people further away from the truth. I felt a cold chill run through me. Was this the beginning of the end? Would we recognize the truth when it came? And what part would we play in what was coming? What did it mean for all of us? And what would I do with the message I had been given? Jesus spoke with a grave solemnity, his voice trembling with both compassion and warning. This is the deceiver. The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. He will appear as an angel of light, promising peace and prosperity. Many will be deceived because they have not grounded themselves in my word and in my presence. I tried to make sense of the words, but what came next left me trembling. I saw this leader rise to global power, his influence sweeping across nations. His promises seemed so genuine, solutions to poverty, conflict, economic instability. At first, it appeared to be the answer to the world's deepest problems. But why did it feel so unsettling? Was this really the solution, or was something darker at play? Jesus pointed out, notice how he speaks of spirituality, but never of me. There was a chill in his words. He promotes a universal faith that appears inclusive, but denies my deity and the power of my blood. Could it be that the world would be so easily deceived? What if they chose convenience and peace over truth and salvation? I watched as the deceiver implemented a new global system, seemingly flawless, promising to bring harmony to the chaos. But Jesus' words echoed in my mind. This is the great deception I warned about in my word. How many would fall for it, unknowingly abandoning their faith in the process? Then the vision shifted again, and I saw a second figure, this one darker still. The false prophet. His presence was compelling, magnetic. What shocked me the most, though, was how he performed signs and wonders that appeared to be miracles. How could anyone resist? I watched as he called fire from the sky and healed the sick in the blink of an eye. Lord, I asked, how will people know the difference between these false miracles and your true power? Jesus' response was calm but firm. Those who know me intimately will discern the difference. I clung to his words. But how many people truly know him? The false prophet's signs would glorify him and the Antichrist, while true miracles always pointed to Jesus and his sacrifice on the cross. But would people recognize the difference? Could they? Jesus continued, his voice filled with urgency. This is why it's crucial for my people to develop deep spiritual discernment now, before these events unfold. How could we be prepared? What if we were so caught up in the world's distractions that we couldn't see the truth when it came? As the vision continued, my heart broke. I saw how these false miracles lured many into following the Antichrist system. Even some leaders I knew, people I had once trusted, were deceived, leading their followers astray. How could this happen? How could so many be so easily misled? Then, something even darker began to unfold. The mark of the beast. It wasn't presented as an evil choice. No, it was dressed up as the ultimate solution to humanity's problems. I saw clever marketing campaigns portraying it as a means to ensure security, eliminate poverty, and unite all of humanity. But what was really being offered? Was it possible that the world would blindly accept this, believing it to be the next step in human evolution? Could they not see the danger? Jesus whispered, "Watch how it will be presented." I saw it all. The new digital currency system tied to the mark, promising to eliminate financial inequality, a world of perfect convenience. It sounded so good. But I could feel the weight of Jesus' words pressing on my soul. Many will not recognize it for what it is. They will see only the benefits, security, convenience, belonging. But what if they failed to see the cost? What if the world was so desperate for peace and prosperity that they made a choice that would cost them eternity? Accepting the mark will be a conscious choice to reject me, Jesus said, his voice full of sorrow. It will be a pledge of allegiance to the enemy's system. And then I saw it. The devastating consequences for those who refused the mark. They were slowly but surely excluded from society. They couldn't buy food, receive medical care, or participate in the economy. I saw families torn apart, people losing their homes, their jobs, their very livelihoods. How could anyone survive without the mark? But even in the midst of this crushing darkness, something beautiful happened. I saw communities of believers coming together, supporting one another, sharing what little they had. Jesus whispered again, "My true church will shine brightest in this darkness. They will demonstrate my love and power in ways that will draw many to salvation, even in the midst of great persecution." Could it be that in our deepest trials, we would be the light the world desperately needed? Would we stand firm in the face of such oppression? The vision continued, showing me massive natural disasters, earthquakes, tsunamis, and strange weather patterns that defied all explanation. These weren't random acts of nature. No, they were signs, warnings from the heavens themselves. What if the earth itself was crying out? These events will increase in frequency and intensity, Jesus explained. They are birth pains, signaling that the end is near. Could it be that all of creation was groaning in anticipation of the final days? And would we, as His people, be ready when the time came? What would it take to remain faithful, to endure until the very end? Many will try to explain these events away, but my people will recognize them for what they truly are: the fulfillment of prophecy. Can you imagine a world in which such catastrophic disasters lead to global food shortages and economic collapse? That's exactly what I saw. The Antichrist, seizing this chaos, tightened his grip on power. But amid this darkness, there was a remarkable light. God's faithful followers were protected in supernatural ways, provided for in ways that defied explanation. How could this be? How does God preserve His people in such times of tribulation? Then came something that filled me with both awe and dread: the final 3.5 years of the tribulation. What would happen when the Antichrist revealed his true nature? He broke his peace treaty with Israel and set himself up in the temple, demanding to be worshipped as God. This, Jesus said, would be the beginning of the greatest persecution His people would ever face. Yet, in the midst of this crushing darkness, Jesus promised an unprecedented outpouring of His Spirit. Could it be that the darkest days would also be the time of greatest revival? I witnessed scenes that were both horrific and glorious. Believers martyred for their faith, yet dying with such peace and joy that even their executioners were convicted and came to Christ. How could anyone endure such persecution with peace? I watched underground churches grow rapidly, spreading the gospel like wildfire, even as the world's systems tried to stamp it out. But how would it all end? Could anyone possibly imagine the glory of His return? Then Jesus showed me the end of the tribulation, His glorious return. The sky split open, and there He was, not as the humble carpenter of Nazareth, but as the King of Kings, coming in power and great glory. The sight was beyond anything I could describe. What would it be like to witness this? And yet, even as we longed for His return, Jesus' words echoed in my heart. This is what my people must remember. No matter how dark things become, my return is certain. Victory is assured. But many were not ready. How could this be? They had built their lives on sand instead of on the rock of His word. Throughout all these visions, Jesus emphasized a few crucial points for His church. Are we truly prepared? The importance of developing an intimate relationship with Him now, before the hard times come. How many of us are truly grounded in His word? I saw how many Christians were like the foolish virgins in His parable, having a form of religion but no deep personal relationship with Him. How can we avoid such a fate? Jesus revealed the urgent need for biblical literacy and discernment. Those who were deceived, He explained, were often those who didn't truly know His word or His voice. How well do we know Him? He also showed me the necessity of detaching from worldly systems and comforts. The most prepared were those who had already learned to depend entirely on Him, not on human systems. Are we ready to let go of our comfort and trust Him completely? And then, He showed me the power of community among believers. Those who tried to go it alone during the tribulation struggled far more than those who were connected to other faithful believers. How important is our fellowship with one another? I saw how the gospel spread with great urgency, and many who had ignored the call to speak up when they had the chance now regretted their silence. Would we speak up before it's too late? As the visions concluded, Jesus turned to me, His eyes filled with love. Harper, you must share what you have seen. Many will dismiss it, but some will hear and prepare. His message was clear. Tell them that I am coming soon. But first, these things must take place. Tell them to draw close to me now, while there is still time. As I began to return to my body, Jesus gave me one final message. Tell my people I love them more than they can comprehend. Everything that is coming is part of my perfect plan to separate the true from the false, the wheat from the tares. Those who truly know me will not be deceived. Tell them to seek me while I may be found, to build their houses on the rock of my word, and to prepare their hearts for what is coming. Suddenly, I was back in my body. I later learned I'd been clinically dead for 13 minutes after the crash. The paramedics had already declared me dead when my heart began to beat again. The doctors called it a miracle, but they don't know the half of it. The true miracle was what I experienced during those 13 minutes and the message I was given to share. I've spent much time in prayer about when and how to share this experience. The Lord has made it clear. Now is the time. We are rapidly approaching the events I was shown, and God's people need to prepare spiritually for what's coming. This isn't a message of fear, but of hope and preparation. Jesus isn't coming back for a fearful, cowering church, but for a bride who knows Him intimately and stands firm in His truth. The time to prepare is now. It's not about stockpiling supplies or building bunkers, but about developing an unshakable relationship with Jesus Christ. If you're reading this, understand, this isn't just another end-time story. This is a wake-up call from Jesus Himself. The time is short. He's calling His people to return to their first love, to lay aside every weight and distraction, and to prepare their hearts for His return. The choice is yours. Will you heed this warning? Will you draw closer to Jesus while there is still time? Will you allow Him to prepare you for what's coming? Remember, He doesn't show us these things to frighten us, but to prepare us. His perfect love casts out all fear, and in Him we have nothing to fear. I share this testimony with prayer that it will awaken those who are spiritually asleep, encourage those already awake to press in deeper, and prepare the bride of Christ for the challenging yet glorious days ahead. May God give you wisdom and discernment as you consider what I've shared, and may He draw you closer to Himself as you prepare for His return.